Welcome to my sketchbook tour. This sketchbook, I think I finished it around April and I started it last year. So this one's a finished one and it doesn't have too much words in it. I think I used to combine my sketchbook and note taking. And so interspersed with everything was written notes, but I've sort of separated the two now. So we started this book with some scribbles by my nephew Theo. I was sort of didn't want to do anything on the first page and he wanted to draw, so it was a perfect opportunity. A lot of my drawings are connected to like people I work with and what their interests are. So you'll find maybe it seems quite random, but everything's kind of linked to someone I know or work with. This was starting to play around with ideas. I wanted to make a present for my dad, and so the frogs were practicing concepts for that. Littered throughout the journal as well is Sophie McPike's Scribble Brigade. I found it a really good way to normalize practicing, like normalize the process of practicing a craft, and it's meant that I actually do more drawing in general. I drew that based on a photo of myself fire breathing. It's one of my favourite photos because fire breathing, obviously, and drawing it was really fun because of the light. The next few pages I did a lot more drawing, I think, trying to figure out depth and like light and shadow in faces. I really struggle with that, like what not to draw and what to draw, and what is a line and what actually should be shading. So had been practicing that. I also went to my first life drawing session, which was at a friend's place, and it was amazing. I loved it. Again, just trying to figure out colours and shades that I like. It was a really wonderful experience, and it's funny now looking back, I really like most of, I like all of them, but at the time I was so critical of every drawing, and I think I liked one or two and then thought all the rest were really bad. But looking back, I'm like, these are good. So that's kind of an interesting thought process. Here we've got another Scribble Brigade and a little pattern that I played around with. Around this time I was developing a zine based on a drawing I'd done that kind of embodied, I guess you could call it depression, but it wasn't actually. I don't know, it's something linked in with being neurodivergent and sad, but the sadness isn't always bad. And that was a zine that I was developing, which I eventually made and sold at a zine fair. I think that was a Scribble Brigade, and this was off an image I found. There's someone on Instagram, I think, makes these, that's based on a doll that she makes, and they're amazing. This was another Scribble Brigade based on Studio Ghibli stills, which I loved. In my journal, I use Tombows, Prismacolors, like fine liners, and a bit of Neocolor, like water crayon things. That was my axolotl dragon that I made up. And then I use a bit of watercolor and gouache. These were two images I found on Pinterest. Again, just like playing around with how color forms depth and shadow, and I'm trying to learn that. Scribble Brigade 1 minute figures, again just a nice enjoyable space to practice in. I think taking the pressure off my journal, my sketchbook, and really just putting in whatever I want has meant I use it a lot more, and I use sketchbooks in general a lot more. I think that, wanting them to be a really beautiful place, obviously we do. This one's from Pinterest as well. Wanting them to be beautiful is so, it's such a natural feeling. Oh, that's my nephew. He looks like a demon. I'm so sorry. It's the color. But he's adorable. He doesn't look like that in real life. He's not those colors. I think that really just taking off that pressure of it needing to be a beautiful place. And when I sketch these pages, I'm not super happy with them. I definitely have the feeling of all right, okay, whatever. But now looking back on the whole book, it feels good, and I'm glad that I did them. They don't seem as bad as they did at the time. I often think about that in terms of people I work with, because we have such a massive pressure on ourselves to have it be an aesthetically pleasing place. We want our creations to connect and be beautiful, and when we can't do that skill-wise, it's kind of feels like a door closing. So making my sketchbook a place for everything and anything, and taking that pressure off. And I don't love every page, especially when I'm making them. I really don't. But getting this book back out and looking through it, I love every page, because it's like an archival document. It's a record of time. It's a record of my interests. It's a record of how I was spending time, and it's also skill tracking. As I draw more, I can kind of track my progress with my skills developing. So I think taking away that emotional expectation of good art from my sketchbook has been great. And again, I don't feel, in the moment, I still feel annoyed or grumpy, but there is not a self-judgment connected to that. It'll be a grumpiness about the art, but it won't necessarily be a grumpiness towards myself. So instead of kind of being this drawing is not good, I'm not good, which it used to be, now it's just, that's not a good drawing, or this page isn't very good. So you still feel bleh, but it's not as weighty. I'm really glad that I've kind of hit that point, because it's just meant that I draw more. It's meant that I take more risks. And I love trying to unpack shape and line, because our brains kind of automatically convert everything into what we believe we see. And I like the idea of deconstructing that to be able to draw it. So stopping my brain from interpreting. This is the end. I don't think I drew on the last few pages because I got excited about a new journal. And I'm not going to. So that was a sketchbook tour. Let me know if you've enjoyed this and would like to see more. Thank you for watching. And let me know if you have any questions.